you speaking of performance anxiety and pressure as an NBA player leads me to something I wanted to ask both of you guys about. With media day this week, it's like everything I see on social media and Reddit and all this, it's vaccine. It's talks about the vaccine. You guys now, as players, have this added pressure, not just to perform, but to be like advocates and using your platform to speak on pretty serious issues. And I just want your guys' honest opinion. And JJ, now that you're out of it, maybe you can, I don't know, Dunk, I don't know, you're in it. So, you're getting asked these questions. And, JJ, you were too, just a short couple months ago. But it's almost like it's unfair, right? Like, you guys aren't doctors. You guys can obviously use your platform to speak about what you care about. But it's almost like there's an expectation now to go sit at the, post-game conference and talk about how everyone needs to be vaccinated. I just think it's very strange for me to see that all over my timeline.
Whatever the opposite of anti-vax, I'm that person. I am a vax, pro-vax, whatever, to the nth degree. But let's just be honest here. Yesterday was an unmitigated disaster for the NBA. Worst fucking media day in history. So much dumb shit was said. And then you have Karl-Anthony Towns giving this impassioned talk about all the shit he's had to deal with from family members, including his mother dying of COVID. What are we even fucking talking about here? It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. I will say this to your question, Davis, is a great question, by the way. Up until 2 years ago, March 2019, as an NBA player or a professional athlete, it was your choice to use your platform to speak on something. It was a choice that you could make. You could be quiet. You could be LeBron and talk about a number of issues and use your Twitter and start a school and all that stuff. You do all that stuff. But in the last 18 months, that has shifted. You're obligated now. Unfortunately, but you're obligated. I think at some point in a different sort of environment, maybe when there's not a global pandemic happening, maybe if we get some of this fucking shit with social justice figured out and we can make some progress there and the political turmoil sort of dissipates, maybe we won't be obligated to talk about those things. But for whatever reason, now we are. And it's disappointing. It really is disappointing when guys are not, I would say, fully informed and then are obligated because they get asked and they have to answer it, and they give bad answers. Bad answers. It's frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, I'll start by reiterating the fact that this is very much a pro-vaccine podcast through and through. So I'll start by saying that. I think, JJ, you made a variety of great points, but I think that the challenges lie within, particularly as we're talking about a vaccine, the misinformation and where people are being selective over what they're tapping meaning into and what they're deciding to be their truth. I think that the Karl-Anthony Towns example is really all that needs to be said. And honestly, it was encouraging to hear that. I guess there were a couple players on his team who had some hesitations, but then ultimately, I mean, I would hope, ultimately ended up deciding to go through with getting the vaccine because of his impassioned stance on this issue, which of anybody in the association, he deservedly should have that platform to speak out the way he does. Yeah, I agree with also what you're saying about the obligation. I know that I have certainly felt throughout the time in the bubble, and really since, I've felt a personal obligation, and that's not even talking about the external kind of pressure that you feel naturally, but also just personally, the importance of just kind of drawing a line on where I stand. And for me, a relatively introverted person, I know that might sound weird considering I have a podcast, but I also do very much like to have, compartmentalized parts of my life. It's been a challenge in its own right. But with that being said, I think JJ's absolutely right in that there is an obligation for players, really, whether we like it or not, in a lot of respects.
I think to Davis's original point in question, the obligation is completely unfair.
Yeah.
Like, we should go back to having a choice. And if we don't want to talk about something, we shouldn't have to talk about something. That's not the world we live in right now. That's not the world. I mean, I'll give you another example. Like, there's been a bunch of stuff that's happened in the last 2 years in the world that I know nothing about. And these things will happen, and you'll see it on social media. Where are all the NBA players speaking out about this? JJ, what do you have to say about this? I'm like, I don't know anything about it. Why would I speak? I'm not an expert in this. I'll go read about it. I'll try to educate myself, but like, I don't. It's a weird sort of environment that we're navigating right now, and unfortunately, like, we have to do it in real time, or for current athletes, they have to do it in real time. But I had to do it for the last 18 months. It's tough.
Davis brought up Media Day. How much do you miss Media Day?
My homeboy that works in the NBA. If I say the team, everybody will know who I'm talking about. But I had about 30 minutes between picking Kai up from school and taking him to tennis yesterday. So I took him to the playground, and he was doing his thing, and I called him, and I was like, it's not gonna be a long conversation. I just want to tell you one thing. My takeaway from today is that I'm so fucking glad I'll never have to do another NBA Media Day again. It's not even just the media stuff, Duncan. It's the production.
Yes.
Please hold up this sign. There's a great photo of me from my second Media Day ever with the Orlando Magic. I'm laying on my stomach, smiling up at the camera, playing with a toy tank. Why? Why did they make me do that?
No, seriously, why did they? What is that for?
Know. I think it was for some Toys for Tots campaign. But, like, again, if you want me to do something for Toys for Tots, that's great. But do I have to do that?